Hello learners, welcome to today's lesson. Today we are going to look at Form 4 Chemistry under the topic metals. This is a topic that is compulsory in the KCSE examination, and therefore it is very important for the students to understand how to deal with this particular topic, which we call metals. In Form 2 under the periodic table, we talked about the elements, or the first 20 elements, which we classified into two, that is metals and non-metals. Today we are going to dwell specifically on the extraction of metals. So we are going to talk about extraction of metals. We said that metals are those elements that ionize by losing electrons, but since we are going to focus on the extraction of metals, we need to know that the method that is used to extract a particular element, depends on the position of the metal in the reactivity series. That is to say, the method used to extract or for extraction of a metal depends on the position of the metal in the reactivity series. The method used to extract a particular metal will always rely on the position of that particular metal in the reactivity series. Based on the position of the metal in the reactivity series, we have three methods that are used to extract metals. Methods used to extract metals. Number one, we have heating of the ore. Number two, we have reduction method. Number three, we have electrolysis. Those are three methods which are employed in the extraction of metals. Let us look at the first method, which is heating of the ore. So this method is commonly used for metals which are lower in the reactivity series. Commonly used to extract metals which are lower in the reactivity series. Examples of those elements which are lower in the reactivity series and can be extracted using heating, we have elements like silver, that is Ag. We have gold, whose chemical symbol is Au. We also have mercury. Whose chemical symbol is Hg. Another point that we need to realize from here is that if, for example, you want to extract an element like mercury, mercury is found in its chief ore known as mercury sulfide, we have mercury sulfide. You only need to heat it directly in air for you to get the metal directly, that is mercury, plus of course sulfur burnt in air will give us sulfur 4 oxide, which is a gas. That is how heating is used to extract those elements which are lower in the reactivity series. NB, these metals form very unstable compounds as their ore that only heating is enough to extract, that heating is only enough to extract the metal from its ore. Remember, an ore is a rock that contains these useful elements. Another method that we use to extract metals is reduction of the ore. Reduction of the ore. This is method number 2, which we use to extract metals, and this method is best suitable for elements which lie in the middle of the reactivity series. This method is used to extract metals which are in the middle of the reactivity series. Remember, these elements or elements that lie in the middle of the reactivity series react moderately. These elements include, we have elements like zinc, we have lead, we have copper, we have iron, etc. Remember, the method of extraction is reduction, and therefore during the reduction process we use the reducing agents, and therefore we can say the reducing agents used in the reduction process are, number 1, the main reducing agent is carbon 2 oxide, that is CO. Number 2, we use coke. Another name for coke is carbon, whose chemical symbol is C. Another important thing that we need to realize from this particular method is that in cases where the ore is either a sulfide or a carbonate, the ore is first converted into the metal oxide before reduction by either coke stroke carbon 2 oxide is done. That is, in cases where the ore is either a sulfide or a carbonate, the ore is first converted into the metal oxide before that metal oxide is reduced by either coke or carbon 2 oxide into their respective elements. For example, if you are extracting a metal like zinc, and maybe we are using the ore which is a carbonate, let us say zinc carbonate or calamine, what we normally do is to heat this carbonate, and remember zinc carbonate heated will give us zinc oxide, which is a solid, plus of course carbon 4 oxide, which is a gas. Or in cases where we are using a sulfide, let us say we have zinc sulfide, which is a solid. We roast it in air, and whenever you burn zinc in air, it will give you zinc oxide, plus of course sulfur in air will give us sulfur 4 oxide, which is a gas. After converting the ores into the metal oxides in either case, we reduce the metal oxides obtained into the metals by either using carbon 2 oxide as the main reducing agent or coke, which is carbon. That is to say, after conversion of the ore into the metal oxide, they are reduced by either carbon 2 oxide or coke into their respective metals. That is to say, we can take zinc oxide, we reduce it by carbon. Remember, carbon will take up the oxygen so that we remain with zinc. Then of course plus carbon 2 oxide. In cases where we take the metal oxide and reduce it by carbon 2 oxide, you are going to get the zinc metal plus carbon 2 oxide, and oxygen will give us carbon 4 oxide. And that is a simple way of extracting elements or metals by using reduction method. The last method that we use to extract metals is electrolysis. We have the third method, which is electrolysis. And this method is used to extract elements which are higher in the reactivity series. Commonly used to extract elements which are higher in the reactivity series. Examples of those elements which are extracted using electrolysis are: we have aluminium, we have potassium, we have sodium, we have elements like magnesium, we have calcium, etc. These metals form very stable compounds that cannot be extracted using either heating or reduction, and therefore we use electrolysis. NB, we can say these elements form very stable compounds that cannot, or we can say and therefore cannot be extracted by either heating or reduction. Their extraction can only be achieved using a method known as electrolysis. Apart from the position of the metal in the reactivity series, we have other factors which are considered before extraction is done. So we can look at other factors considered before extraction. That is apart from the position of the metal in the reactivity series. Number one, we look at the environmental effects, environmental hazards, because the extraction process may also cause very serious environmental pollution. Number two, we can also look at the importance of the byproducts. Another factor that we are likely to consider are the fuel costs and other alternative sources of fuel. Number four, we can also look at the availability of the ore, which is very, very crucial. Availability of the ore. Number five, we can also look at factors like depth of the ore. So those are some of the factors that we look at before the extraction of a particular metal is done. So in summary, we have looked at three methods that are used to extract metals from their ores. That is, number one, we have mentioned heating. Number two, we have reduction. And number three, we have electrolysis. So here we are going to have the metal, then the method of extraction, so we have talked about metals like gold, we have mercury, we have silver. Those elements which are lower in the reactivity series, we call them the least reactive elements. These elements are extracted using heating of their ores. Number two, we have talked about elements or metals which lie in the middle of the reactivity series. The metals are like we have copper, we have lead, we have iron, we have zinc, etc. These ones are extracted using reduction method, or what we call reduction of their oxides. Then the last lot we talked about are elements which are higher in the reactivity series, the likes of aluminium, the likes of sodium, the likes of potassium, the likes of magnesium, calcium, etc. These elements are going to be extracted using electrolysis. So these are the methods that we are going to employ to extract these particular elements, though we are not going to consider the elements that are lower in the reactivity series. We are only going to consider the metals which are extracted by the reduction method and those which are extracted using electrolysis. So we are not going to talk about all these elements. We are only going to focus on the elements which have been selected by the ministry, and those are the elements which are going to be examined in any given KCSE examination. So the metals under discussion, metals under discussion are: number one, we are going to talk about sodium. Number two, we are going to talk about zinc. Number three, we are going to talk about lead. Number four, we are going to talk about copper. Number five, we are going to talk about iron, whose chemical symbol is Fe. Then lastly, number six, we talk about aluminium, that is Al. Remember, if you look at sodium and aluminium, these are very reactive elements, and therefore the two are going to be extracted using electrolysis. This one is also electrolysis. Then of course, zinc, lead, copper and iron are the elements which are found in the middle of the reactivity series, and therefore we are going to use reduction. For today we are going to stop there, but we are going to look at each and every metal in the best way we can, so that we can assist learners on how to go about this particular topic. Thank you for watching, and in case you haven't subscribed to the channel, kindly take that 1 second and hit the subscribe button.